Our story begins with a 10-10 mafia boss who is in a terrible mood because his takeout is running an hour late. Just one delayed order is enough to convince him that the younger generation has zero professionalism left. He starts ranting about dirty politicians and corrupt corporations scamming everyone while tightly gripping his baseball bat. Then he turns toward the poor guy hanging upside down from the ceiling like a human pendulum. The man can barely make a sound, but that doesn't stop the boss from proudly calling himself the ultimate example of a true professional. According to him, the poor guy ended up like this because he lacked real professionalism and picked a fight with the wrong people. After getting into position, the boss warns him not to move. One bad swing could kill him way too early, which would ruin the job since the client didn't pay. For a quick death, they paid to have him beaten half to death first. Suddenly, a voice echoes from the entrance, announcing a fresh delivery. The boss instantly assumes his food has finally arrived, though he is still incredibly annoyed. It took so long. His excitement vanishes the second he sees a guy wearing a bright orange delivery uniform and a black helmet standing in the doorway. Our main guy, Lee Sang, has officially arrived. The boss cannot fathom how some random delivery driver strolled past all his guards without anyone stopping him. Ling says absolutely nothing, quietly scanning the warehouse before dropping a heavy metal delivery box onto the floor with a loud thud. Everyone expects food, but our guy calmly pops open the box and counts the gangsters one by one like he's checking an order. He pulls out a payment terminal and adds 10 people to the bill, then throws in an extra charge for weapons, including a late-night fee, and casually tacks on another 700,000 while the boss yells at him. After finishing his calculations, he finally announces today's delivery is not food, but a severe ass beating. Someone hired him to thrash every single person in the warehouse, but the gangsters just stare as if he has completely lost his mind. Even the guy in the white suit dismisses him as literal garbage. The boss finally snaps and orders his men to kill him. The first thug rushes in and gets dropped by one kick before anyone else can even react. Another attacks from behind with a knife, but Lean catches his arm in midair and knocks him out with a single punch. After that, the entire warehouse becomes his personal punching bag. He drops gangster after gangster with heavy punches and kicks that hit like trucks until bodies begin covering the floor. While beating everyone senseless, Lean casually mentions he is in a hurry because another delivery is waiting. He even tells the remaining gangsters to stop wasting time and attack all at once. They eventually do, and every single one of them ends up kissing the floor. The gang boss watches his entire crew collapse and all the confidence instantly drains from his face. Facing defeat, he asks who hired Ling, offering double then triple the money to leave. Ling answers with a devastating punch that sends the boss's glasses flying across the room. He calmly explains that attempting to bribe him violates the strict terms and conditions of his professional contract. Then he crouches next to the unconscious boss, adjusts his position, pulls out his phone, snaps a thumbs-up selfie with the defeated gangster, uploading it as proof that the physical delivery has been completed. Meanwhile, the poor guy hanging upside down is still swinging around like a human pinata, desperately trying to catch Ling's attention. He silently hopes Ling will rescue him, but our boy doesn't even react, since saving him was never part of the job. Before leaving, he casually shoves one of his business cards into the guy's mouth, telling him to make a proper order through the official app next time he needs a hit. Then he flips up his visor and says he will take any job beating people up as long as the pay is good. Suddenly his phone buzzes with another request, and his blood-stained gloves prove that fighting is just. He collects his payment in stacks of blood-stained 50,001 bills and heads out. Turns out, Lee Sang has been doing this good-for-nothing delivery gig for the past 2 years while still in high school. At 18 years old, he outturns most adults and never goes anywhere without his signature pink neck pillow. Checking his savings, he immediately opens up luxury apartment listings for Tower Palace. Even after his latest payday pushes his balance past 52 million won, he's still nowhere close to buying his dream home. At this rate, it'll take a lifetime just to afford it. Lately, his gigs haven't paid that well either, leaving him wondering if there is a quicker way to make cash. 3 days later, he walks into a brutal bullying scene at school. A girl named Sianha lies on the floor while a vicious bully and his gang tower over her. He mocks her for being so weak, and reminds her that her late father died buried in massive debt before offering her money if she agrees to be his girlfriend, but Xianha simply glares back with absolute hatred. That is when Lee Sang finally steps in and casually tells the punk to apologize. The bully instantly gets aggressive, but one of his lackeys completely freezes upon recognizing Lee Sang. Panic strikes as he warns the crew that even top-tier delinquents avoid crossing this guy, but the bully refuses to back down, drawing a knife and threatening Lee Sang. Before he can strike, his terrified lackey grabs him from behind and literally drags him away while apologizing profusely. Ling barely even watches them leave, simply muttering that they were incredibly rude and should probably apologize to him for creating such a fuss. Cynthia quietly watches him walk away before he tosses her one of his business cards, telling her to call if she ever needs backup because he will beat up anyone for the right price. Feeling surprisingly generous, he even offers her special 2% discount if things get really bad. Truly the world's most business-minded delivery guy. Cindy stares at the tiny white card that reads Delivery Haven Courier Ling. As the sun sets and the school day ends, Lee Sang sits outside eating a quick snack, constantly checking his phone. He hasn't received a single request all day. Yesterday was hectic, but today feels completely dead. Staring at the city's luxurious skyline only reminds him that he still doesn't own a single apartment. Then his phone finally rings. Delivery Haven sends a new request with an upfront payment of 10 million won, and the destination instantly catches his eye. It is the Gangnam Tower Palace, the exact luxury apartment complex he has been dreaming about. He zips up his bright orange delivery suit and rushes to his destination, penthouse. Apartment 18,001. Ling calls out the delivery from habit, but nobody replies. The home is pitch black. He shines his phone light and spots strain red foreclosure stickers plastered over the furniture and flower pots. A luxury place losing a war against the bank was definitely not something he expected. Before he can even make sense of this, masked men carrying steel pipes silently step from the shadows. The lead thug swings first and immediately gets dropped with a single punch. Lee Sang eyes his glove, realizing these thugs do not live here, then checks his phone with an annoyed frown. Every extra idiot interrupting his delivery means wasted cash. The attackers realize he is not their true target, but their boss still orders them all to strike. That plan lasts exactly 2 seconds. Ling dismantles them one by one while calmly counting them like items on a grocery list. An axe deflects off his arm before he launches its owner across the room. Another thug crashes through expensive furniture. One poor guy ends up buried under broken glass, likely wondering how he just lost to a simple delivery gig worker. Another powerful kick sends multiple attackers flying at once. One giant thug finally grabs him from behind, but he casually crushes the man's hand while wondering why another dude is hugging him. Nearby, another assassin stands holding a knife, refusing to budge because nobody wants to be contestant number 7. Ling even dares him to step closer if he has the balls, but the terrified guy keeps shouting insults while sweating buckets. The fight eventually reaches apartment 80,001. Ling smashes the front door, flooring the last thug, believing the job is finally done. Then he raises his fist toward the last person inside, only to freeze upon seeing Seo standing there. Ling cannot fathom why his classmate is here. Seo calmly shows him her phone, proving she was indeed the customer who ordered. Looking at the unconscious hitman, she is impressed that Ling defeated elite mercenaries without taking a single life. She then offers to officially hire him as her bodyguard because her life is in danger. Ling instantly refuses, as personal protection work goes against his professional rules. Sana reminds him he is dead broke. Everyone at school knows, and his financial problems are even bigger than her assets. He finally gives in and asks her to pay quickly without any drama. Sana refuses to give him any discount. Instead, she starts throwing stack after stack of cash onto the floor until money is practically raining around the delivery guy's feet, totaling 100 million. She does not care about his company policies. Ling grabs a stack with trembling hands, since he has never seen this much cash outside of a movie. Sana sees his eyes softening the second he spots the pile of cash, giving him one final opportunity to accept. Ling runs straight to an ATM because he cannot believe this money is actually real. He pulls out a 50,000 bill from the stack, staring at it with total suspicion, and convinces himself it must be fake. He inserts it and waits for the machine to expose the counterfeit. The ATM slowly processes the note while the delivery. He stares at the screen without even blinking. Seconds later, the confirmation pops up and his account balance actually climbs. Ling goes completely pale. Cold sweat starts pouring down his face as he realizes every bill was completely real. His mind instantly flashes back to what happened 2 hours ago when Siguana offered him a bodyguard contract. He had stared at the massive pile of cash scattered across the apartment floor. Thanks to the foreclosure notices plastered all over the penthouse, he convinced himself that cash was fake. Letting his pride take over, he kicked the money across the room, accusing Selena of pulling a scam. He even grabbed a few bills to arrogantly explain how their smell, texture, and color proved they were fake. Selena warned him he would regret turning her down, but Ling confidently flipped her off and walked away, convinced she would regret everything. Cut to the honestly looking at the present, Ling wants to crawl into a hole and disappear. He realizes he kicked away 100 million won out of pure ego and zero common sense. His ego won't let him run back to beg her for another chance. So he starts slamming his forehead against the ATM instead. Suddenly, he notices a crypto chart on his phone shooting up nearly 8,000%. Hope immediately returns as his digital wallet climbs like crazy. The guy starts cackling, already imagining himself getting filthy rich without anyone's help. The dream lasts only a few seconds before the chart plummets straight back down and wipes out everything. He goes completely numb as his financial future goes down the drain for the second time tonight. He punches the ATM booth with all his might, shattering the glass into 1,000 pieces. He instantly realizes he has made another terrible mistake. Police officers arrive almost immediately, slap handcuffs on his wrists, and drag him to the station. After booking him and taking down his statement, they explain he can avoid real trouble if he pays for the damages within a week. Lee Sang silently stares at the massive repair bill, which demands nearly 10 million won. He shuffles out of the police station looking completely defeated. The next morning, Ling drags himself back to school with dark circles and messy blonde hair that looks like it survived a tornado. He spots Han near the stairs and instantly realizes she is his absolute last hope to escape financial ruin. Shanha completely ignores him, her face wrapped in fresh bandages from a rough night of her own. Before he can even speak, a group of bullies surrounds her to start harassing her again, but Ling casually strolls over and interrupts them. The lead bully immediately starts making fun of his exhausted state, completely unaware he is insulting the city's most dangerous delivery legend. Ling skips the talking entirely and drops the leader with a single lightning-fast punch. The others charge him together, but honestly, they don't stand a single chance. He tears through them with the same efficiency he uses on deliveries. The fight quickly becomes a total, one-sided beatdown, and Ling secretly loves unleashing all the rage and frustration bottled up from the night before. While handing out bruises, he starts mentally renegotiating Sun Ha's bodyguard contract, deciding he is completely willing to take half the pay. He forgot about the regular fee just to grab that advance. Seconds later, the thugs are flat on their backs. Liang immediately offers to sign the contract the right way through the Delivery Heaven app, practically begging Siana for that 10 million won advance. He holds out his hand to seal it, but she just stares at him with complete and utter disgust, remembering exactly how rudely he blew her off just hours earlier. She turns around and walks away, leaving Liang with the most brutal rejection of his life. The delivery guy instantly scrambles after her and grabs her arm, reminding her that she wanted his strength. In the first place, Selma freezes, turning back to glare at him with such a chilling look that even Liang freezes in his tracks. She calls him out for treating her like a puppet he could boss around on a whim. Still trying to salvage what remains of his pride, Liang insists she needs to ask nicely if she wants his help. That petty attitude pushes Sana over the edge, and she snaps that they are actually the exact same age. She tells him to stop acting like he is superior to everyone else, making it crystal clear that their connection is strictly business. She's the paying client and he is just the worker. Meanwhile, poor Minsip is still groaning on the dirt in the background, looking absolutely pathetic after getting completely wrecked in public. Siana calmly reaches into her purse, deciding it is time to put this stubborn delivery boy back in his place. She casually drops the name Minhyuk, and Liang goes completely mute, realizing this girl has connections way beyond his pay grade. The scene then shifts to a private golf course where wealthy businessmen plot a flawless swing under the afternoon sun. The man holding the club is Yang, the cold-blooded CEO of Yanggang Group and Minsup's uncle. Immense power practically radiates off him, and everyone around treats him like absolute royalty. An assistant lights his cigarette while Yang casually grumbles about all the worthless parasites in the world. His peaceful game is cut short when his private phone starts buzzing incessantly the moment he spots his beloved son's name. His harsh expression softens. On the other end, Minsup is hiding in a bathroom, weeping hysterically after getting beaten senseless and having his head shaved totally bald. Photos of his new look are already spreading across social media. Yang calmly promises to wipe out the problem, then hangs up. The warmth vanishes from his face as he realizes Sanchel's daughter dared to humiliate his bloodline. Yang has one deeply twisted hobby to help him unwind. He buries living men up to their necks, using them as human golf tees. Several terrified victims stick out of the dirt, golf balls balanced right on their heads. Yang walks over to them, reprimanding his subordinates for failing to handle a simple high school girl, then casually lines up his shot, while muttering that street garbage can never be trusted. One crisp swing sends the golf ball soaring off the victim's forehead, and Yang barely flinches after treating a human being like sports equipment. Soon, Minjun arrives wearing a sky blue delivery uniform, and Yang signals his guards to bring over the payment. A heavy briefcase pops open, revealing stacks of cash, alongside a massive bonus for getting the job done cleanly. Minjun stares at the pile for a second before bursting into hysterical laughter. He cannot believe people actually pay this much. Getting paid this much for an easy job. He even mocks the suited bodyguards for not knowing how to hire real talent, proudly showing off his delivery Heaven app. Minjun openly calls the whole group incompetent for failing to catch a single teenage girl. One bodyguard steps forward, warning him to watch his mouth, but before things escalate, another golf ball smashes straight into one of the buried men. Minjun casually adjusts his delivery backpack, warning everyone not to touch him before walking away. A call from Assemblyman Ya Bangu officially locks in his next gig. Minjun checks his screen as the politician orders him to wrap things up as fast as possible. The target profile pops up on his screen, revealing her name as Sunha. Minjun stares at her photo with a cold smirk before tapping the orange accept button. His payment updates instantly, showing 50 million won already transferred for another completed contract. Cut back to Ling right after his own deal officially goes live. The delivery guy explains that all payments must go through the Delivery Heaven app because professionalism always comes first. Sanha warns him that he cannot take jobs from anyone else. She wants him to stick by her side at all times, making him promise never to abandon the gig. Ling pauses because that sounds way too emotional for a normal business contract. He scratches his head and officially accepts her terms. Right on cue, Ling's phone buzzes to confirm his full-time gig has officially started. Sona informs him that he is now her exclusive 24-hour personal delivery guy. Ling feels relieved because the cash is finally flowing again, but rent and grocery bills still weigh heavily on his mind. His money-hungry brain wonders when the next order will drop because he is down for anything, even running food deliveries if the payout makes sense. Instead of heading to class, Saguna walks straight toward the school gates. Ling quickly points out that the classrooms are in the opposite direction, but she casually claims she has to work instead. The delivery guy nearly has a heart attack when she admits she is skipping class. Sona ignores the complaint, demanding to know where his scooter is parked. A bit later, they cruise through the city streets on Ling's yellow scooter until they reach Tango High School. The scene shifts to a dark room where terrified schoolgirls are held hostage by thugs dressed in black. A blonde guy in a pink shirt sits smug under a spotlight like he owns the joint, while his lackey keeps stuffing his face with food. The leader smugly pretends that he is acting incredibly generous to the girls he kidnapped, making it painfully obvious that a dark new job is waiting on our protagonist's schedule. The terrified schoolgirls tremble in fear, while the gang leader claims they showed up willingly. He orders them to cooperate one last time, while the cameras and recording gear set up around them make his sick plans obvious. He coldly demands that the girls start taking off their clothes, then points at one of them, warning that things will get violent if they refuse. That is the perfect moment for Lee Sang to make his entrance. He casually announces that the delivery is here, as his delivery Heaven app confirms his target is Yong-soo. The bullies freeze because they never expected a visitor. The delivery guy crashes their operation, giving the target zero time to even realize someone knows his identity before Ling starts dealing out flying kicks like he's clearing a clearance sale. Every thug drops in succession, and the room turns into a total disaster zone within seconds. Ling calmly surveys the wreckage while a terrified bully collapses to the floor, begging for mercy after seeing what happened to everyone else. Sahana walks into the room right after the brawl, and every surviving thug immediately throws up his hands instead of trying anything stupid. Ling proudly gives his boss a thumbs up like he just completed another routine delivery. Then he grabs his phone and walks over to an unconscious thug, trying to unlock the guy's phone using facial recognition. It fails because the thug's face is so badly beaten that the device refuses to recognize him. Soma watches the display with pure disappointment, letting out a heavy sigh. She clearly thinks their delivery guy needs a few lessons in professionalism, because she had specifically wanted those faces left intact. The remaining thugs cannot decide whether to fight or run. One glare from Ling and Siona crushes their courage entirely. Siona asks each rescued girl which school she attends to sort things out properly. Ling points at the remaining bullies, and Siona orders every thug to kneel in the corner with arms raised. Ling watches the discipline with a puzzled look, because his boss apparently enjoys handing out elementary school penalties to shameless bullies. Sihana warns them not to lower their arms before reminding Lee Sang they still have work left. The pair heads to another high school for their next delivery. A bully named Sihana is terrorizing female students until Ling walks in and introduces his fist to the bully's face, folding him instantly. Lying snaps another confirmation photo, since every successful delivery requires proof. Another thug wearing a black hoodie spots the chaos and bolts down the hallway, bursting into the teacher's office screaming that some lunatic is attacking students. Ling catches up before he can finish his story, casually covering his mouth with a gloved hand and dragging him back into the hallway while telling the teachers they are only playing around. Another delivery is confirmed with another photo. Gangju, known as the shepherd, ends up crying after getting thrashed. Taeyang, the so-called mad dog, joins the pile of defeated bullies. Young-hun and Dompel get their own confirmation photos. Lee Sang checks every target off his list, completing another full batch of punishment deliveries without breaking much of a sweat. After wrapping up, Lee Sang and Siana stop outside and open one of their delivery containers packed with recovered smartphones. Ling carefully checks each device before closing the box and preparing to leave. He tells Siana only one stop remains before their shift is finished, but something has been bugging him. He stops for a second, asking if they are actually partners now. Siana barely reacts, keeping her yellow helmet tucked under one arm. Ling grumbles that they barely communicate, even though they are supposed to be partners, so she should at least share the ultimate goal of mission. Dunha immediately shuts that down, making it clear that their relationships are nothing more than a business contract that can end at any time. Ling silently listens as she reminds him he is just a hired courier doing a paid job. Then she finally reveals why she has been hoarding all those phones, searching for the contact info of one specific person hiding among them. Her true goal is using Lang to reach that mysterious target before either of them can say another word. A massive delivery truck suddenly plows straight into Ling's motorcycle. A massive explosion sends smoke and debris flying everywhere. Ling reacts instantly, wrapping his arms around Sona to shield her from the blast. Even though he takes a painful blow, Sona quickly pushes him away after landing safely, but her face darkens the moment she realizes this was no accident. Meanwhile, Ling sits on the asphalt, holding his helmet and complaining more about his wrecked bike than his own injuries. His customized ride is now nothing but smoking scrap metal, and he immediately starts mourning the loan payments he still owes. A young thug leans out from a nearby car, pointing at the pair after recognizing them as the phone thieves, and starts yelling at his driver, demanding to know if a top-tier courier can actually handle such a simple job. The driver is an older courier who casually apologizes for being a bit rusty. he politely asks his client to wait, walks to the back of the truck, unlocks the doors, and reveals stacks of cargo boxes waiting inside. Sona looks down at the shattered smartphones scattered across the road, frustration instantly taking over. Because every single phone she worked so hard to collect has been totally destroyed. She recognizes the courier logo and immediately warns Ling that this group is far more dangerous than any ordinary delivery company. Ling completely ignores her, gets back on his feet, and charges toward the older courier, Mape. His biggest concern is still his ruined motorcycle. He demands payback unless the old man wants a brutal beating. The old courier barely pays attention, calmly digging through the mountain of packages inside the truck. After tossing several boxes aside, he finally finds his target and pulls out a long wooden case containing a weapon. Ling keeps ranting about his ruined bike while the old courier swings a massive halberd with terrifying force, slamming it into the road and blowing a huge crater in the asphalt. He casually admits it has been a long time since he wielded this weapon, so he still needs to adjust to its weight, claiming Ling only survived because that first swing barely missed him. Ling tightens his fist and refuses to back down. The old man laughs, blaming Ling's toughness on the reckless confidence young fighters always have, claiming he has watched plenty of rookies die because their pride got out of control. Ling admits he underestimated the weapon's reach, but calmly tells him to attack. Again, the old courier readies another deadly strike, convinced that charging into battles like this is the fastest way to get killed. Ling watches the massive blade pass inches from his helmet before finally throwing his counterattack, his fist crashing into the halberd and stopping it completely. The old man freezes, never expecting someone so young to react like that. Zhang calmly watches the clash, noticing a faint wisp of smoke rising from his fist. He realizes he has already figured out the old man's attack pattern, his confidence surging as he declares that anything the old man throws at him from now on will be blocked and shattered. The man in the blue cap stares back at Sang with a mix of surprise before letting out a dry chuckle, admitting the kid reminds him of his younger self, someone who risked his life without a second thought. The old man quietly wonders how he even survived those reckless days back then, secretly triggering another hidden mechanism inside his halberd. The weapon's tip shifts with a sharp click, proving he still has tricks left. Next, he turns toward the truck and calls the blonde customer over, saying it is finally time for him to pitch in. Fear instantly washes over the blonde man's face, but the veteran quickly mocks him for acting like a spoiled brat. The client snaps instantly, reminding them that he is the one paying for this entire job. He even demands a full refund after watching this disaster unfold, but his anger evaporates the moment he realizes the old man actually expects him to fight. The veteran casually asks if he has ever worked an honest day in his life. When the rich kid admits he grew up pampered, the old man starts lecturing him about real labor, loading trucks, hauling heavy cargo, and how modern parents have made kids too soft. The terrified customer can only nod along in silence. Samo finally shouts to Sang as the battle grows far too dangerous. She reminds him this is just a job and warns him not to let his pride ruin everything. Fists alone will not be enough anymore. And she wants him to retreat before things get worse. Sang barely reacts. He calmly replies that fighting is his department, not hers, and he does not need tactical lectures from someone watching from the sidelines. Samo can only stare at him, baffled by how incredibly stubborn he is. Before their argument goes any further, a massive spiked mace comes hurtling straight for his head. Sang does not even blink. One powerful strike completely shatters the heavy steel ball before it makes contact, sending shrapnel flying and proving once more that his hands are weaponized. The attacker desperately keeps swinging the chain, hoping a lucky strike lands, but he suddenly freezes. Upon realizing his ultimate weapon cannot even scratch the guy, Sang casually crushes the remaining metal pieces without breaking a sweat. Watching from behind, Sonar quietly begins to respect just how seriously he takes his work. Sang crouches in the rising dust, bracing for the next strike. Although part of his helmet has shattered, exposing his eye, the enemies still cannot comprehend his power. Their panicked leader desperately orders his remaining men to keep hurling everything they have. Meanwhile, Sang remains completely calm, almost acting like a teacher, showing them why they should never leave openings. A brief flashback reveals one worker's miserable past. he spent his days hauling heavy crates under a scorching sun until he finally hit his limit. The old man in the blue cap showed zero sympathy, constantly calling him useless whenever he stopped to catch his breath. He ultimately fired the unfortunate worker on the spot, grumbling that modern youth had no grit. Back in the present, the angry old veteran hurls another heavy box straight at Sang. More boxes come hurtling out of the truck one after another, but Sang refuses to budge. His fist rips through one crate like it is made of wet cardboard. Fear slowly creeps onto the old man's face because none of his attacks are landing. He grabs a long pole and starts shoving the cargo forward with incredible speed, hoping the extra force will finally make a difference. Sang knocks the pole away before it can even touch him. His eyes glare through the crack in his shattered helmet, making it obvious he has no intention of letting anyone catch their breath. Panic replaces the old man's confidence. In desperation, he grabs a heavy pole with a massive spiked mace on the end and hurls it with all his remaining strength. Sang meets it head on once again. His fist stops the weapon cold before punching straight through the metal spikes as if they are made of paper. The old man can only watch his strongest weapon turn into complete scrap right before his eyes. The worker keeps flinging random objects as fast as he can, hoping to slow Sang down, but nothing works. Sang dodges every single projectile without breaking his pace. Another devastating punch shatters a crate, making it clear that nothing is stopping him now. The old man makes one last attempt, sweeping a pole toward Sang's legs. Sang slams his fist into the concrete instead, shattering the asphalt and stopping the attack completely. The terrifying gap between them has become painfully obvious, and now we see absolute terror take over the old man's face. In one final desperate gamble, he grabs a massive blue crate wrapped in warning tape. The box weighs 500 kilograms, and he hurls the entire thing at Sang with all his strength, hoping the massive weight will finally crush him. Sang answers with a full-powered punch, stopping the giant block dead in midair. Before sending the 500-kilogram crate flying back twice as fast, it tears through everything in its path before smashing into the old man. He can do nothing but watch his own attack come hurtling straight back at him. Meanwhile, the worker who got fired earlier lies exhausted inside the truck, watching his former boss get absolutely wrecked. Sang calmly adjusts his shattered helmet, deciding they are even now, then glances at the cracks and remembers his motorcycle is still a pile of junk. He decides it is time to collect the bill for that too. Cold sweat pours down the old man's face because looking at Sang brings back memories he has spent 30 years trying to bury. His blue cap suddenly feels like the last remaining piece of his old life. Let's travel back 3 decades. Back then he was young, hot-headed, and convinced nobody on the streets could touch him. His partner constantly begged him to stick to the plan instead of charging into fights alone, warning that his attitude would get him killed eventually. He ignored every warning because he believed another famous writer only got popular by working for a massive corporation. He looked down on everyone else, convinced real strength spoke for itself, showing off in his eyes was something talentless people did, believing he was the only one doing any real work, even when his superiors warned him to stop acting so arrogantly. He refused to listen. Most of those bosses ended up dead, and he even ended up killing some of them himself. His ego grew so massive that he joked about letting people live simply because he got bored without someone to talk to. Everything changed after he met the person who completely crushed his pride. After that fight, sheer fear replaced his confidence. He abandoned the streets, gave up his old style, and spent 30 years hiding from the world, terrified of crossing paths with them again. But fate decided to play a cruel joke because Sang gives him that exact same feeling. His cap almost slips off, and so does his courage. Deep down, he knows he cannot beat this kid. Facing Sang feels like digging his own grave. Even though the old man forces himself back into a stance, Sang just waits, with one hand resting on his hip, letting him make his choice. The old man stares at his fist and realizes he cannot spend the rest of his days running away. Fear has ruled him long enough. Living with more regret would be far worse. He lets out a massive roar, throwing everything he has into one final punch. Sang smiles because it is the first thing the old man has done all day to earn his respect. This blow carries every bit of the veteran's remaining pride, but it still isn't enough. Sang answers with a devastating right hook that sends teeth flying, launching the old man across the asphalt in a single blow. Without looking back, Sang turns around because this clash is already over. He even decides not to charge for his wrecked motorcycle anymore. Thanks to a lucky crypto trade, he feels wealthy enough to let it slide. The blonde bully completely loses his cool and starts screaming at everyone around. Sang just looks at him with an exhausted look, totally done with dealing with one annoying interruption after another. Desperate, the punk grabs her by the neck and presses a knife against her throat. His hand trembles as the blade grazes her cheek, wanting only his phone back. Sona, though, remains totally calm. A second later, reality hits the bully because Seonha never needed saving in the first place. One swift strike drops him instantly. She stands over him with the same cold expression, looking like nothing even happened, but Sang braces himself for another fight, only to realize Seonha has already finished the job herself. He looks almost disappointed because there is nothing left for him to do. To be safe, he steps on the fallen punk's face to make sure he stays down, then wonders if Seonha could honestly take down everyone alone. She ignores the question and simply walks away like it is just another normal day. Sang watches closely and starts thinking she is hiding far more than she lets on. He brushes it off, telling himself that accidents happen during delivery runs, then switches right back into work mode. He adjusts his black gloves, reminding himself that combat is the only thing he is here for. She suddenly reaches over and grabs his hand to check if he is hurt. This certified single guy completely freezes because he never expected that kind of concern from a girl. His face flushes red for a second before he completely misunderstands the whole situation. Sona immediately ruins the moment by calling him an idiot for risking his hands. She reminds him his fists are the most vital part of their contract, and another reckless move will get him fired. Sang can only laugh awkwardly, knowing that arguing with her is a terrible. From the ground, the old man looks up with a nostalgic smile, joking that kids today really are something else. He thanks Sang for helping him reclaim his lost fighting spirit, even offering to tag along since he believes his decades of experience might help. Sang shuts him down instantly, pointing out that getting completely trashed isn't exactly a great job interview. The old man warns that they are both dead meat because their names just landed on a very exclusive blacklist. Singhin rubs her temples, deep frustration, instantly realizing he is referring to the city's most dangerous high-priority delivery list. The old man mutters they have reached the absolute worst phase. Sang has no clue what that means and just stares at him, completely blank. Sang explains it is called a priority delivery, the most lethal contract in the entire system. Unlike standard gigs that go to a single rider, this one is open season. Every rider in town can hunt the same target, and only the fastest one to finish gets paid. The old man adds that once someone is marked, riders will hunt them day and night without ever stopping. Sang looks down for a second, making it look like the grim news finally broke him. Then he snaps his head up with a massive grin, convinced this is actually the best thing that could have happened. Every challenger is going to march right to his doorstep, and he gets paid for every single beatdown. He gets so hyped he actually thanks Sang for giving him this golden opportunity. The old man laughs at his insanity, but Sandra immediately shuts him down. She reminds him he is just a worker, not her actual partner, and orders him to stop acting like it. Lana then turns toward the old man and chucks a red leather collar onto the dirt before him. She offers him a spot in her crew if he is willing to become her loyal dog. The old man stares down at the collar and somehow ends up blushing. Sang watches the bizarre display in pure disgust, unable to believe these two are being dead serious. The group moves out, but that collar soon finds its way onto a different neck. Minsup groggily wakes up with leather squeezed tight around his neck, instantly realizing he is now Kuna's. Suna strides forward calmly, dragging him behind her like a leashed dog. She refuses to waste such a valuable hostage, planning to wring every drop of intel out of him. Mup can only drag his feet as the sun begins dipping below the city skyline. Soon, the group reaches another school. Sang immediately recognizes their own campus and begins whining because his perfect attendance record is officially ruined. Siana calmly explains she kept this location for the very end to prevent triggering mass panic earlier today. The old rider meets up after completing his own task, with Menzup already Bound inside the cargo hold exactly as Siana instructed, she tells the old man that his sole duty now is serving as a meat shield if things go south. The old man still squeezes in some flirting, while Sang ignores their cringy chatter, spotting fresh blood and thick dust coating the corridor. Someone was throwing down here before their arrival. Sukanana is hardly shocked, since she anticipated finding these exact clues, a lone delivery bike. She expected to spot clues like this, a lone delivery motorcycle. A motorcycle parked outside proves another rider beat them to the punch. Their destination is the 5th-floor student council room. Stick with me here. Ha remembers the lights were shining just moments ago, fearing an ambush. Either someone beat them inside, or they are waiting to spring an ambush. A rider dressed in blue casually strolls out, mocking their late arrival. He calmly boasts that he already slaughtered everyone in the student council. He simply got bored of waiting. Cone and the elder freeze instantly. They stare in horror at the fresh blood dripping from his hand. The old man immediately fumes, pointing out this violates their contract rules. Mjan does not even bother giving the elder a proper reply. With a swift flick of his fingers, the old man's hand is sliced clean off. As blood sprays everywhere, Mjan casually checks his phone and demands they move. He admits he might just slaughter everyone here to end the day early. But his bored attitude completely shifts when he looks at his target photo. The target profile belongs to Sona, but someone else catches his eye. It is Sang standing right behind her. A massive grin splits Minjun's face. He walks over, greeting Sang as his one-nut friend. Sona stands firm. She watches the two of them in absolute, tight confusion. She has no idea how they know each other. Sang is equally puzzled. Minjun explains that their connection is far deeper than a normal friendship. He suddenly lunges for Sina, but Sang blocks him in a flash. Before he can touch her, Minjun mocks Sang for playing the protector. Sang snaps that Sina is just a client, warning him to back off. He demands Minjun leave her out of this if he wants a fight. Minjun pauses for a second, then decides he absolutely hates that answer. He explodes with rage, charging forward as Sang blocks the opening blow. Keeps mocking his protective instincts. Sang answers with a sharp kickback to create some distance, but Minjun slips through, launching a lightning fast strike at Sia's throat, barely grazing her skin and leaving a tiny cut. Sang immediately pulls her back, but Minjun won't stop bringing up the past, taunting him about those he once swore to protect. He realizes Sang has been hiding his real power this entire time, but none of it has faded. Their clash quickly turns into a storm of heavy blows. Flying everywhere, Minjun believes his faster speed gives him a massive advantage, especially since Sang is forced to shield Sihan at the exact same time. He keeps mocking Sang for abandoning his old life to play ordinary student. Quietly, Saha touches the stinging little cut on her neck and looks at the blood on her fingertips. Instantly, her entire demeanor shifts completely. Her feet move before anyone notices, charging straight at Minjun before he can even react. The deadly assassin freezes in absolute disbelief when he notices his target is actually attacking him. Sang immediately spots an opening and doesn't waste it. Sanaha grabs Minjun tightly by the helmet, while Minjun laughs, mockingly assuming she is trying to flirt with him. Sang watches closely, and we have to wonder if Sacha is actually a burden. She glares at Minjun with pure hatred, demanding he repeat his words. As those words land, fear finally creeps into Minjun's eyes. Sacha grabs his head even tighter, completely blocking his vision and leaving him completely vulnerable. Minjun screams in pain from her brutal strike, and Sang seizes the opportunity to land a clean finishing blow, sending Minjun crashing to the floor. Letting out a heavy sigh, Sang admits this fight was far tougher than he expected. Sanga catches her breath, making it crystal clear she is no one's burden to anyone. As Minjun lies completely defeated on the floor, Sanga decides to clear up one more thing, making it absolutely obvious that she is not Sang's girlfriend. Sang walks over to inspect the old rider, calmly telling him to pick his severed hand up off the floor. The old man is utterly speechless. Hearing, never imagining that his limb could actually be reattached, Sang reassures him he knows a medical clinic that can do exactly that. Meanwhile, Sunhai quietly slips away. As Sang calls out, asking where she is headed, she begins searching for a working phone. But Sang warns her that she is already too late. He explains that although Minjun looks reckless, he is actually incredibly meticulous whenever he carries out a job. He Always make sure to destroy every witness's phone beforehand. Sang looks toward the student council room, fully aware that the situation inside is going to be a total disaster. Suddenly, Sang cuts him off and tells him to stop poking his nose into her business, pointing at the assassin. She asks why someone like Minjin keeps calling Sang his closest friend. Sang instantly rejects that label, muttering that stalker is a much better word for him. Minjin groans on the floor, complaining that Sang is being too rough, but Sang only views him as a massive headache, explaining that they only crossed paths briefly during his former job. Minjin kept stalking him, constantly begging for fights until Sang finally cut all contact. Sang even asks if Minjin wants another punch to put him right back to sleep. Minjin seizes the chance to warn her about standing beside the wrong person. He then exposes San Ha's identity, revealing that she is the daughter of Sun Yonch, yet Sang has absolutely no clue who that is. Minjin laughs mockingly, telling him to head to Si Chang and find someone named Queen. He claims this queen knows who actually murdered Si Chang's father. He chuckles again, asking if that revelation changes anything. Suddenly, Si Chang completely snaps upon hearing her father's name. In a blind rage, she starts beating Minjin repeatedly with her heavy backpack, absolutely furious that a killer like him dares to speak so casually about her father. Pure rage consumes her as she tries to force him to spill everything he knows, but Minjin only laughs harder, mockingly telling her to go find the answers alongside her boyfriend. Sienna keeps striking him relentlessly until Sang finally steps in, grabbing her and pulling her back. He explains that Minjin is only trying to provoke her, believing she is just like him. Sang warns that Minjin will never talk because of how he was raised, and beating him like this will only tire out her own arm. Sian Sacha stands frozen in absolute silence, sweat dripping down her face as she struggles to process everything she just learned. Meanwhile, our story shifts to Hona Street, an area glowing with neon signs and vintage architecture. A phone suddenly starts vibrating. Upon receiving a fresh delivery request, a woman's hand, adorned with elegant rings, taps the screen, calmly puffing a pipe while reading the incoming notification. Before announcing a new assignment to her crew, several terrified girls are shown captive behind her. She orders them to bring the target back, unharmed because she could be useful later. Meanwhile, a man covered in arrows lies bleeding on the floor. With total indifference, she orders her men to chop the boy up and feed him to the dogs. She reminds them to keep things elegant before taking another slow puff from her pipe. Scene shifts back to the school, where Minjin is bound tightly with heavy cords in the back of a truck. The writer watches this bizarre scene from inside the cargo bay, where the bully leader is packaged up like cargo too. The cargo doors slam shut with a bang. The old man gets behind the wheel, asking if his hand can truly be cured at the clinic Sang mentioned. Sang reassures him it looks like a normal hospital from the street, and explains he only needs to give his name once he arrives. Sienna firmly warns him against pulling any stunts because the collar around his neck contains a GPS tracker. The old man chuckles nervously, saying he has already been paid his advance anyway. The truck rumbles off into the darkness as Sang and Sienna silently watch it fade away. Sang suddenly snatches something flying right at him. Without even turning his head, opening his palm, he finds a motorcycle key. Sang stares at the key in shock, quickly growing thrilled at the thought of scoring a brand new bike from the job. Sienna immediately kills his buzz by explaining that the ride actually belongs to Minjin. A brief flashback shows her swiping the keys right out of Minjin's pocket. During their brawl, Sang figures today's delivery shift is finally over and proudly celebrates another successful run. However, his victory lap only lasts a moment before he grumbles about Minjin's awful taste in bikes, complaining that riding it feels cheap. Sienna is already sitting on the light blue moped, waiting to depart. Sang admits he is utterly drained and suggests she head home alone since he has no strength left. He stares at her, hoping she catches his obvious hint. Sienna calmly says she was planning to head to his house anyway, so they should just ride there together. Sang freezes instantly at her words. He can't fathom why she wants to crash at the place of a guy living alone. Sienna reminds him that her own apartment is no longer safe after yesterday's ambush, calling him an idiot for not seeing the obvious. She also points out that being a priority delivery target means assassins could strike at any moment, day or night. Sang can't argue with that logic. Sienna points ahead, reminding him that Their contract dictates he must stay by her side no matter what, Sang feels the heat as she locks eyes with him, demanding he start. The engine, he trudges over to the bike, still asking if she truly comprehends what it really means for a woman to stay with a man who lives alone. Pure embarrassment washes over his face as he desperately tries to make her change her mind. Sienna keeps her cool demeanor and honestly admits she can't guarantee that nothing will happen. However, she shrugs the tension off, telling Sang to do whatever he likes. Sang stays quiet for a second before turning around to bluntly tell her that she is not. She is not his type at all. Still, the two eventually arrive at Sang's apartment. He immediately warns Sienna that he only has one pillow and one blanket for her, so she will have to manage. He also warns her that his tiny place is incredibly rundown. It does not even have a bidet, just to keep her expectations low. Outside, the apartment building looks completely ordinary. But the second they step inside, Sang flops onto the floor to check his phone, barely paying attention to the fact that a girl is sitting in his room. His face instantly falls the second he looks at the screen. His crypto savings have crashed by 99.9%. The shock is so bad that his stomach actually starts hurting. He cannot believe almost all of his money is gone. Now he has Sienna crash landing in his space. Sona sits quietly in the corner, pulling her knees close, while Sang spirals into a complete financial meltdown. She watches him silently, almost as if none of this surprises her. Sang keeps wondering why she actually agreed to come inside. Just because he asked, he starts sweating while staring at his phone, convinced she is completely out of her mind. Cigaretta calmly repeats he can do whatever he wants. Sang stands up, staring at her in sheer disbelief that she keeps saying that. He rubs his face, feeling like he might lose his mind after letting this weird stranger into his home. The room becomes painfully awkward. Sang lies flat on the floor while Sejuna sits quietly in the corner, and neither of them knows what to do. Sang closes his eyes and tells himself that once he gets paid, he is leaving this mess behind. She keeps staring at him with her usual calm expression, red eyes peeking out from behind her bangs, waiting without moving. Sang forces himself to calm down and stop overthinking all the weird stuff happening around him. Tiang Sang checks his food delivery status, seeing that his fried chicken and cheese balls will arrive in 5 minutes. Suhan quietly mentions she actually prefers seasoned chicken. Breaking the heavy silence, she crawls a bit closer and casually admits this is the first time in her life she is eating delivery fried chicken. Sang almost chokes from surprise, unable to believe she has never ordered fried chicken before. Suhan looks down at her phone and begins opening up about her childhood, explaining that she always ate chicken prepared by their family housekeeper, who was an amazing cook. Her father never allowed fast food inside, so she grew up eating homemade meals at a massive dining table. She never complained because the only thing she truly cared about was having dinner with her father, even if it only happened once a day. Everything changed the night her father sent a message saying he was too busy to come home. The housekeeper also had an emergency that night, leaving young Sean Ha completely alone. Inside the mansion, a fried chicken commercial played on television, and the food looked too good to ignore, so she decided to order delivery for the first time in her life. She waited anxiously by the front door until the doorbell rang and a delivery rider stood outside, shifting back to the present. Senui remembers asking the rider to wait a moment while she finished checking something on her phone. She opened the front door and saw a delivery rider stood there, his helmeted face hidden but feeling strangely familiar, even though most of his face was hidden. Still, he handed her the bag of food right there under the hallway lights, leaving the delivery company logo on his uniform burned forever into her mind. Back inside Sang's apartment, Sia asks if he truly believes all of this is just a coincidence. She vividly remembers that the day she first ordered food online was the exact day her father was discovered brutally murdered in his office. She explains that the courier who arrived at her place 2 years ago looked identical to him. That is why she became completely obsessed with him from the start. Sang silently listens to everything with a grave face, realizing he has stumbled into a much bigger conspiracy than he ever imagined. His expression shifts when hearing a noise outside. His gut immediately warns him someone is lingering nearby. Straining his ears, he knows for sure there is another soul standing just outside. Instant annoyance hits him because This is precisely why he never wanted this busty baggage near his apartment. He warns her that she remains a prime suspect, meaning he cannot fully buy her story yet. Sanhai also warns she won't let him walk if he is connected to her dark past. Sang is baffled that she still doubts him, even after all the help he has given her. But before their petty argument can escalate, a sudden crash rings out. Sang bolts onto the roof, throwing the heavy door open as a brutal scream echoes nearby. A stylish guy resembling Che Yuma is hoisting a delivery rider by the throat while a second courier lies unconscious nearby. The strangled victim gasps desperately for air. Spotting Sang, the attacker tilts his head in curiosity, casually stepping onto the unconscious man's head. Before asking if he is the legendary delivery guy protecting Sihana, Sang instantly locks onto his shiny shoes and pristine clothes, realizing this is no low-level thug. The handsome stranger introduces himself as Ju and even extends a hand with a serene smile. Sang completely snubs him bluntly, declaring he does not shake hands with guys. Ju keeps his hand extended for a beat before dropping it. Instantly his polite mask slips, turning icy. He unleashes a lethal strike that misses Sang's face by mere centimeters. Drawing a steel tactical baton, he sneers that Sang's greatest crime is merely being alive. His swing shatters the concrete wall, proving he is way more dangerous than he appears. Leveling the weapon, Ju calmly vows to make his life a living hell, staring down at Sang like he is absolute trash. Sang snaps back, calling him a total psycho while getting irritated that he ruined a random building without a second thought. Ju responds by blitzing forward with insane speed, catching Sang completely off guard. He barely guards the hit with his arms, but the impact still hurts enough to make him hesitate, staring at the odd weapon. He genuinely cannot comprehend why a simple baton is actually hurting him. This cheap Che Yunwoo lookalike calmly adjusts his bloody glove, noting the first thing he needs to fix is Sang's trashy attitude. He starts lecturing about society dumping worthless junk and discarding people, but Sang is already tired of the lecture, almost. He snaps, asking if Ju is another delivery rider who loves giving long lectures. Ju ignores the joke entirely, revealing he only came for Sanha. Sang glances at her, wondering why every creep in town suddenly wants her. Yet he refuses to hand her over since she is still his paying client. Ju believes Sanha will willingly leave with him instead of staying near a piece of trash. Before another punch flies, Sangha steps in right between them, demanding to know why Ju is causing a scene. Suddenly his whole vibe shifts as Sangha casually calls him Oppa. Ju quickly explains he only stepped in because he could not stand watching her with a guy like Sang, insisting he was worried sick. Since he views himself as her older brother, Sangha finally steps in. She explains that while Ju acts completely crazy sometimes, he is not bad. She planned to introduce him later, revealing his name is Jai Jai, a high-ranking prosecutor from the North District who looks after her ever since she was small. Still, Ju wants to trash Sang, but Sangha shuts him down, quietly asking if he actually doubts her. That single question completely drains all the confidence right out of him. His rage vanishes instantly as he hurriedly tries to defend himself. Sangha accepts the explanation calmly, telling everyone to stop bickering. She orders them inside because they have far more important business. Ju reluctantly follows her into the apartment while Sang stands there, wondering how his quiet day turned into this. The chicken finally arrives, and the three of them sit down. Sang begrudgingly pours some drinks. Clearly hating his role as host, Ju turns down the drink. Acting like even looking at Sang ruins his appetite, Sang quietly decides if Ju touches the food, they fight. Meanwhile, Sangha eats peacefully. Ju brings up today's mission, admitting the operation was total chaos. But at least they now have a lead on their next target. The talk shifts to Seek Hong, the most dangerous district around. In the country, Ju explains that their main target goes by Queen. Sangha bursts out laughing, finding the code name incredibly corny and embarrassing. When Ju says they need an official code name, Sangha casually suggests Operation Fried Chicken Delivery, looking completely serious about it. Zhang is still highly skeptical, questioning if they can trust this. Ju agrees that Ming Han is far from trustworthy because almost every single word out of his mouth is complete nonsense. Ju. Prosecutors never blindly trust criminals, verifying facts and spotting lies is literally part of the job. Sang finally snaps, pointing out that Ju claimed he did not want any chicken, yet keeps eating anyway. He reminds him this is his apartment, not Ju's. Ju grumbles that the cheap, nameless brand ruins his appetite. Sang slams his hand down, telling both of them to get out of his house, already suggesting Ju take his sister with him, but Ju suddenly drops a number that completely changes the mood, calmly revealing that 78 different delivery riders accepted the order and rushed over. They targeted Sang the moment his name appeared on the list, but Jui's team intercepted every single rider before they could even reach the apartment building. Sang finally realizes just how dangerous his situation has actually become. Jay explains that almost every target placed on a priority delivery list dies within 2 days, so sitting around eating fried chicken like nothing happened is honestly unbelievable. He warns that far stronger and much more dangerous riders will start appearing very soon. Jui honestly does not care whether Sang lives or dies, but asks one important question: can Sang protect Suha when the truly dangerous people show up? Sang does not hesitate. His confident attitude makes it clear that losing is not an option. Jai simply replies that confidence does not pay the bills because if Sang loses, he gets nothing. Suddenly, a knock on the apartment door interrupts their conversation. A voice outside reports that the cleanup operation is finally finished. One of Jay's men steps inside and informs him it is time to go. Jui admits he still does not understand why Siona chose someone like him, wanting Sang to prove she did not make a mistake. He leaves with his crew and the apartment door slams shut behind them. Sang immediately yells at the closed door, promising to deal with Jai himself if he ever returns. Siona just stares at him, wondering why he is suddenly acting so dramatic. Sang tries to keep his cool, but his temperature instantly spikes when Sega casually. Meanwhile, he struggles hard to keep his composure. She calmly asks if she can borrow something because she wants to take a shower. Flustered Sang has no choice but to lay out blankets on the floor, but before he can even finish, a pillow smacks his face. A few minutes later, he walks out wearing one of Sang's oversized white t-shirts that completely fails to cover her backside. Sang nearly dies of embarrassment and tells her to put on pants, but she's already wearing shorts underneath. The apartment is so tiny they only have one set of blankets, leaving them both standing there in an awkward standoff until they finally lie down together. Sang stares at the ceiling, wondering how his life went from delivering orders to a K-drama romance. Sukuna quietly asks him to stay alert, and Sang pauses for a moment, then tells her to get some rest. The next morning shifts to a luxurious traditional estate where Wang Su happily ignores his official duties to drink and enjoy Chung Woo's company. The cheerful mood disappears the moment he steps out, and Chung Woo's warm smile instantly turns cold. In the hallway, Yang, the CEO of Young Steel, kneels before Wongu and desperately begs for another chance to deal with Shanha. Wu laughs him off, praises George Cho as the only man he ever respected, and mocks Jor for never coming close to him. Yang warns that everyone will fall if he falls, but Wu simply walks away without taking him seriously. Furious at this, Yang orders his men to assassinate this piece of trash. Zhang Wall reacts before anyone can blink, pulling a hidden hairpin from her hair. She cuts through the attackers. One guard's hand is pierced instantly. The rest are taken down just as easily, and Wang Su ends up applauding because she solves the entire. Changhua apologizes for the messy scene. With bodies littering the floor, she grabs Yang by the throat, ready to end him right there. Wongu halts her at the last second, deciding Yang is still too useful to kill. He wants to squeeze every single piece of information out of him first. Outside, one of Chang's lackeys reports the cleanup is already done. Wang Su laughs off how pathetic Yang's assassination attempt was before driving off in his luxury car. At that exact moment, Chang gets a high-priority mission on her phone. Liang is now designated as the primary target, with Sun Ha marked as the secondary target. She silently stares at their photos, accepting the hit without changing her expression, and orders her crew to head to Xiang Chang immediately. As night falls, Madam inspects a line of terrified girls waiting outside. She eyes one candidate using nothing but her smoking pipe, coldly picking apart everything from her eyes to her posture, declaring she is not even fit to be a simple servant. Furious with the useless recruits, she demands immediate answers. Zhang Cho tries to beg for forgiveness, but before he can finish, Jam Min, the giant Bodyguard next to her sends him flying across the room with one brutal punch. Chung-wall calmly sighs that if they couldn't even manage high school girls, they should have targeted middle schoolers instead. Right at that moment, the giant entrance doors swing wide. A smug blonde guy wearing an orange robe steps. Inside, he introduces himself as Bong Yu from Anan and explains that he is delivering the girl they wanted to train as a gizang. He steps aside and reveals Sanha in full gizang attire, her face hidden beneath a traditional hat. Her quiet grace immediately commands the room. Meanwhile, Ling confidently promises the madam she is going to be impressed the second she lays eyes on her. Now, let's jump back to see how this plan started. In a dark alley in Seungchan, a man wearing that same orange robe corners a young student, aggressively pressuring her to become a gizang. With promises of easy cash, the terrified girl refuses, but he ignores her pleas. That is when Ling slips up behind him, ending the conversation with one clean, devastating punch to the jaw. He notices this guy has almost the exact same build as him, so he strips off that orange robe to use for his infiltration. Back in the present, Sang and Siana are finishing discussing the plan. Siana explains that this disguise is their only shot at slipping into enemy territory completely undetected. Sang reviews the sparse intel on his screen, knowing only that their target is called Queen. Slipping on the stolen robe, he accepts there are no better options and walks inside with Sei and Ha. Instantly, the madam and her massive guard lock eyes on her. Ha's traditional style and elegant posture make the entire room freeze in sheer awe. The madam slowly inspects her, praising those bright eyes, flawless skin, and that noble aura. She grabs Suna's chin and sneers that her body is far too delicate for this brutal work, and those defiant eyes will terrify the clientele. Sona does not blink, staring right back with those piercing crimson eyes. The madam proudly boasts that every legendary courtesan in this district was trained by her, excitedly declaring that she will personally mold Sana into their finest gizang. She immediately begins. She promises to personally make Sana the finest jising there, immediately barking an order. She orders her guard to take Sana to the punishment room before he can grab her. Lee Sang steps in, reminding everyone that he brought the girl there himself. He warns the bodyguard not to move without his permission, making the giant furious. The brute is enraged that a simple delivery man dares to block him, trying to break free. He tries to wrench free from Sang's grip, quickly realizing this guy is incredibly strong. The giant throws a devastating punch that almost shatters the floor, but Sang effortlessly dodges. Meanwhile, the madam calmly puffs her pipe, watching the clash without a hint of worry. The bleeding bodyguard growls that only the absolute strongest survive in this place. He points to the sunflower badge pinned to his chest, calling it proof of his authority. If Sang wants this token, he must take it by force, and the giant lunges again. But Sang easily slips past his guard, landing a clean blow that sends him sailing. The massive guard crashes hard against the floor, spitting blood and remaining completely still. Sang calmly snatches up the sunflower token, wondering if he should actually wear it. He pins it to his shirt. This instantly makes the madam realize they are intruders. Sana quietly tells Sang that their cover has already been completely blown. She asks if he plans to beat up the old lady next, making her laugh. She chuckles, stating that reasons do not matter here in this ruthless underworld. Only strength and results count. Suddenly, she begins removing her outer layer of clothing. She reminds Sang that by accepting the token, he has also accepted everything with it. Sang watches her in absolute bewilderment until she unveils her true form. She reveals a surprisingly toned physique hidden underneath, claiming kinship to the great Kai. She proudly boasts she is still a jising despite her age, offering herself to him. Horrified by the offer, Sang completely panics and desperately begs her to stop. Pushing past the awkwardness, Sang quickly asks the only question that actually matters. "Are you the queen?" The madam smiles knowingly, admitting she is not. She has no clue where the queen is, explaining only elite jisings meet her. Sianha quietly recalls that those top-tier jisings are known as the district queens. These lethal women master both arts and combat, with the true queen reigning above. Madam warns them that these elite women and their guards are entirely different. If the duo values their lives, they need to tread extremely carefully. Having gathered all the intel they could, Sang and Sianha make their exit. Sianha asks if he has already figured out what their next move is. Sang cracks his knuckles, suggesting they just fight their way through the district. Until they locate the elite Jissings, Xianhe agrees that his raw instinct is correct. She urges him to hurry because she is already starting to get hungry. The scene shifts to a traditional inn in Xiangdang, glowing warmly under red lanterns. Inside, defeated guards lie scattered across the floor, completely knocked out cold. A figure picks up one of their flower tokens and snaps a quick picture. They use the photo to keep a tally of all their beaten targets. They have already cleared dozens of guards. Ling strolls in wearing flower tokens. They cover his chest like military medals. He grumbles about his flat rate fee. He should have charged per head instead of accepting a flat rate. Xiaohe checks her phone. She calmly scrolls, ignoring the fallen guards. Meanwhile, a second-class Jissing warns them. She desperately warns them that they have absolutely no idea what they are facing. Into Sega calmly replies she knows exactly what she's doing, carefully analyzing a. She pulls up a map on her phone, revealing 10 suspected money laundering spots. The spots laundering the most dirty cash are likely the main targets. Tied to the elite Jissing, telling Mian to speak up if they are wrong. There is zero time to waste, but Mian just calls them completely insane, insisting that absolutely nobody can touch the mastermind behind this operation. Suddenly, a phone begins to ring, and Cyan quickly searches Mian's clothes. She pulls it out. It is an elite Jissing calling, offering the perfect opportunity. Mian immediately panics, desperately trying to claim she has nothing to do with it. But Cyan calmly stuffs a gag into her mouth to silence her completely. She answers the call and listens silently as a voice on the other end announces that the reservation is ready in the VIP room and needs delivery now. Sanhai hangs up without a word, then turns to Mian with a question. Where exactly is that VIP room? The scene shifts to a massive, sprawling inn, glowing with eerie red lanterns, leading down into a secret basement hideout. Inside, an assemblyman slowly pours himself a glass of premium, expensive whiskey. He savors the rich aroma, while an elite Jissing named Yan serves him. Between sips, he begins lecturing on the separation of powers. Right next to him, the Vice Minister of Security happily celebrates their highly successful partnership, while Chief Prosecutor Gong proudly suggests absolute unity between all three branches of power. These three creeps lounge together in their underwear, surrounded by hostesses as they toast to their unholy alliance. An elite Jissing named Hwang prepares to snap their picture. Meanwhile, the women begin entertaining them, but one official notices Mian is missing and complains. Since she was the specific girl he requested, right then, the doors slide open. And a gorgeous woman wearing a traditional red and black outfit politely apologizes. For being late, the staff explains that the requested girl had a sudden issue. That is when Sanhai calmly steps right into the luxurious VIP room. Disguised as a stunning Jissing, introducing herself as the replacement, suddenly the scene shifts to a sunny swimming pool where another elite Jissing is lounging. Relaxing on a pool float, she laughs after reading that an old madam and her bodyguard were beaten by complete nobodies, mocking her for growing so weak she cannot even keep a decent bodyguard around, but her amusement ends when her associate arrives with a massive companion in a suit. She shows her phone. She urgently reports that 3 of their locations have been attacked. She explains that the high-priority delivery targets are behind this. Flashing a picture of Liang, she also mentions Cyan, stating that both of them have already slipped inside the enemy territory, while they are hardly close friends. She asks her to cooperate because petty pride no longer matters. This immediately bruises her massive ego, and she sharply demands to know who gave anyone the right to order her around. Fuming, she screams for her older brother. Deep underwater, a massive man named Hansu sits in deep meditation. He slowly opens his eyes, exhales a stream of bubbles, and rises from the pool. His sister complains about getting splashed, but Hansu only sighs, annoyed that the interruption ruined his attempt to hold his breath for 20 minutes. Tangwell suddenly spots something off and looks toward the edge of at the pool. Tango politely greets them as Sobeng sheds her orange robe and prepares to fight. Tang politely asks Haeyoung to cooperate, but he coldly tells them to leave. She lowers her eyes, admitting she was far too optimistic about a peaceful solution. Somel immediately throws a punch so powerful it sends a massive shockwave across the pool, but Hyuna calmly blocks it. With one hand, his expression never changing, Chang watches in shock as the shockwave rips apart her jacket sleeve. Turning to Jiao, she calmly declares that she will not tolerate any more disrespect. Zhu Jiao just laughs from her floating tube, openly insulting her. she mocks her disappearing act. In sudden return, demanding everyone else clean up her mess, she quietly warns her to leave before things get ugly. Changal tries to calm the situation down, suggesting a talk instead of fighting, but Zai okay. Casually slips on sunglasses and orders Hyeon-soo to eliminate every single intruder. Immediately, Hyeon-soo steps forward, flexing his massive frame while preparing for battle. SHWA stares at her briefly before departing with her companion. A white car quickly speeds away, vanishing down the road. Inside the vehicle, Chung W admits seeking help from the other Gizeng is pointless and a complete waste of time. A terrible gut feeling reminds her of an event from 2 years ago, when Shung mentions that old incident. She admits she can practically smell blood as warriors gather from all directions. Meanwhile, the white car speeds through the forested roads of Siang. Chongdan, elsewhere, Ling rides down that exact same road wearing headphones, casually enjoying his music like he is on a road trip. He soon arrives at a massive, ancient gate overshadowed by towering skyscrapers. Elsewhere, inside another building, several powerful men sit around with only a thin piece of cloth covering their small bamboo sticks. Sha enters as the replacement girl, and something about her immediately triggers suspicion. Hang snorts and keeps staring, sensing that something is deeply wrong. Nearby, another woman sits bound and gagged in the corner, struggling desperately to break free. Kim Mongu wastes zero time grabbing her face, laughing like she is his new toy. He inspects her features until a shocking realization hits him. She looks just like Sanju's daughter. Memories of the funeral 2 years earlier flood his mind. He orders her closer, but Siona stands firm, claiming she writes beautiful poetry while gracefully pouring him a cup of wine, reciting verses about red flowers beneath ancient walls and sweet perfumes filling a maze. She gently hands him the cup, declaring he will never see tomorrow's sunrise. She splashes the wine directly in his face, delivering brutal slap that sends his glasses and his pride flying. The entire room freezes. Nobody saw that coming. This absolute baddie then announces that everyone in the room is getting their asses kicked tonight. A hidden assailant secretly pulls out a blade and strikes without warning. Siona effortlessly evades the blade, while Mong dives onto the floor in sheer panic. He quickly grabs his glasses, puts them back on, and starts cackling like a total lunatic. Hangai watches the chaos closely, preparing for another strike. Seun calmly reminds her that understanding her master good taste is a basic skill for any man. Suddenly, we flash back to Seun. She stands silently at her father's funeral, draped in black. Nearby, wealthy elite men complain about how long the service is taking. She silently memorizes every face, name, and tiny detail written in the condolence book during those 3 days. Back in the present, those same men's clothes are now lying scattered across the floor. Sandra picks up a leather belt, pulling it tight between her hands until it whips sharply through the air, calmly asking who wants to be punished first. The fools in the room keep laughing, completely clueless about the nightmare that is about to unfold. We shift to VIP Area number 2, where Ling stands alone beside a tiny food stall that looks totally out of place inside such a luxurious high-rise. He instantly grumbles that the snack prices are completely absurd. The old woman running the joint snaps back, claiming only wealthy elite people eat there. Sang quietly drops the argument, knowing walking away pulls him from Sahana. Farther from Sahana, the old merchant suddenly sizes him up and immediately offers her vintage V-card. Sang instantly loses his appetite after realizing exactly what she is implying. Before things get weirder, Sleal Su walks over and silently tosses a thick stack of bills onto the counter. The owner instantly flashes a massive smile and begins preparing his usual order. Sang closely studies the newcomer, noticing that he is also wearing flower tokens on his lapel. His gut instantly warns him this guy is dangerous. Song Il-soo casually covers Sang's tab as well, but notes that nothing is free as he has 3 questions. Sang, who has always been incredibly cheap, immediately agrees. The stranger asks who Sang really works for. Sang casually names Song while chewing, then quickly backtracks, claiming he is actually guarding her, not serving her. Song Il-soo points at the flowers on Sang's chest, noting that many guardians have already fallen today. He explains that an assassin is targeting both Jisengs and their guards across the district. Sang plays dumb, but Il-soo presses on, asking if he will truly defend Sura to the bitter end. That query finally wipes the smile off. Sang's face, suddenly, Slu strikes with a lightning-fast blow that shatters the entire food stall, but Sang reacts just in time, even though his mouth is still full of food. Their collision shakes the area before Song. Ilsu lands gracefully, calmly pointing out that Sang lied to every question. Sang gulps down his food and finally admits this fight just got serious. The furious stall owner runs out, screaming at them for destroying her livelihood. And driving away her customers, Sealsu silently tosses another heavy pile of cash onto the counter, which instantly silences her. Sang simply watches this with chopsticks still in hand, before suddenly firing another lethal projectile straight at his foe. Sealsu blocks it, admitting his opponent possesses terrifying speed, raw power, and pinpoint accuracy. He realizes that trading blows barehanded with this monster will likely cost him a wrist. Recalling the warning never to let pride ruin the mission, he calmly finishes his final bite of food. Song laughs, and according to his calculations, Sang is worth only 5 bills. He vanishes with an almost. He moves invisibly, swinging his blade so fast it slices clean through the air. Sang barely dodges the blow. A deafening metallic crash echoes as he blocks the sword. Using nothing but a wooden chopstick, Song Elsu immediately follows up with. Sang quickly realizes the fight has become far more deadly. Songsu warns him it is too late for regrets, smashing the ground to throw up a massive cloud of dust. Sang still has no idea what the guy is even talking about. As they prepare to clash again, Songsu attacks again without giving him a second to breathe, claiming he is far too weak to back up all his massive confidence. Sang suddenly closes the gap before his opponent can react. Sealsu's eyes widen as Sang flashes right in front of him, pointing his weapon directly beneath the man's nose. Sealsu instantly leaps backward to escape. Sang laughs, mocking his terrible distance control and how he left his entire left side wide open. Since Sanyal Su paid for his meal, Sang decides to let it slide. He throws a final attack just to make a point, then casually walks away from the ruined food stall. As his black boots step away, he suddenly raises a gloved hand like a finger gun, peering over his shoulder with a serious look. The scene shifts back to Hangai, who is now in deep trouble. Serna steps on one of the defeated men, commanding everyone to stay silent. The terrified man instantly begs for mercy, while Sir stares down at the room with absolute disgust. She turns to Hangai and says, "Nobody else can get near them anymore." Changai cannot believe anyone would dare treat her like this. Seha points toward the shock collars wrapped around the powerful men's necks and explains that every wrong answer will only torment those precious gentlemen. If anything breaks inside this place built on other people's misery, their entire business ends today. Then she demands to know where the queen is hidden, but Hangai nervously laughs, mocking her threats. Siona stays completely calm and presses the remote. The collars instantly send painful electric shocks through the men, making them bark like dogs. Hangai panics, begging her to stop and calling her completely insane. She warns that harming even one of those elite men means nobody leaves this building alive. Sadably calmly replies that sounds perfect if she can eliminate those disgusting old men. She calmly asks again if Hangai is ready to speak. Suddenly, a loud crash cuts them off as the door bursts open and one guard stumbles inside, dropping to his knees to desperately apologize for failing to stop the intruder. Hangai freezes the moment she hears this. Sana turns toward the entrance, instantly recognizing that familiar orange uniform. A man calmly walks through the shattered doorway wearing his motorcycle helmet while the entire room silently watches. He stops in the middle of the room and quietly announces that the delivery is here. So Yanhai completely freezes the instant she lays eyes on him. Her mind flashes back to that rainy day 2 years ago when a delivery rider appeared right before her father's slaying. Her eyes widen in shock because the man standing in the doorway, holding a black delivery bag, looks exactly like the courier from that day. The room falls completely silent until a phone suddenly begins to ring. Xianhe. She answers the call immediately, only for her brother to desperately warn her about it. Monster on the loose. He explains that 3 of his men are already dead and an extraordinary courier has escaped. He nervously asks where Lin Sang is right now, then reveals Xianhe is the real priority target, warning her not to leave Lin Sang's side under any circumstances. Just then, the writer quietly raises his phone and shows everyone the delivery order, with Xianhe's picture displayed on the screen. He calmly confirms she is the exact package he is assigned to. Deliver, hearing Ju's warning through the phone, she completely loses her composure. Her hand begins to shake as pure terror takes over, lowering. Her head she struggles to process where Lee Sang is, the delivery guy. Remains completely calm, asking if his partner already dealt with the target. Lee Sang lies slumped dead against the wall, while a terrified woman nearby screams in horror after finding the body. Meanwhile, the delivery guy raises one finger and aims it at Seonhee like a gun. A sharp click sounds as he tilts his head, carefully studying her. Cold sweat runs down the girl's face while that finger remains aimed at her. Suddenly, Hwang attacks from behind before he can make another move, declaring she will personally eliminate the intruder for threatening her masters. A man looks at the terrified VIP guests shaking in their underwear. One of them angrily asks who he thinks he is, but the man calmly flicks his fingers, firing compressed air bullets that instantly strike. Hwang and Sony watch in complete disbelief as they all collapse almost immediately. Then he coldly asks if that means he is finally free to kill the girl. Hwang is horrified by his absolute lack of emotion, but quickly lunges with another powerful thrust, swearing he will pay for touching the lords of this establishment. He easily dodges her strike and lands a devastating pressure point attack directly into her body. Yona crashes down, coughing up blood while another guard rushes in, warning her that this enemy is extremely dangerous. He quickly realizes Ling is using his fingers like guns, firing attacks. With incredible force, he calmly raises his hand again, preparing another deadly shot. Sony and Wang slowly back away, overwhelmed by the pressure coming from him. He quietly reminds them that the reward on their heads is doubled today. He points his finger at Hong, ready to finish the job. Sanasu desperately rushes toward the Gizang, trying to stop him. He watches the reflection in his helmet, thinking how profitable it is to have two targets together. Saiyan stands completely frozen in fear while the assassin quietly celebrates his luck. Suddenly, a heavy punch crashes into his stomach, ruining all his plans. The delivery man doubles over in pain, cursing whoever just attacked him from behind. A rapid series of strikes catches him off guard, sending him flying across room like raisin. Ling appears behind him, mocking him for getting hit. From behind, the delivery guy crashes through a wall, landing among the rubble. He stays silent for a moment, studying his new opponent. Through his visor, Ling grumbles that this situation has become incredibly annoying and begins peeling off his orange jacket to move more freely. He is down to just his white shirt now, a clear sign the playtime is over. Then his eyes catch a familiar symbol on the delivery rider's uniform. It is the union mark. He gets up, brushes himself off, and calmly asks if he is a member too. That question instantly gets the blonde guy's attention. Watching from afar, Seonhee is completely baffled by this mysterious group. Blowing off any polite talk, he rolls up his sleeves, readying for battle. He boldly warns Liang that surviving this upcoming beating should be his only priority. Without another word, number 2 lunges forward with mind-blowing speed. He moves like a ghost, leaving almost no trace. The courier scrambles to defend. He blocks the strikes, but Liang's pure physical strength is just too overwhelming. He hunts for a counter while weathering a relentless storm of brutal kicks. Liang lands a heavy blow, forcing him to drop his makeshift metal cart shield. His footwork is blindingly fast and pinpoint accurate. A heavy strike rattles his helmet. The impact shakes the entire room, but he recovers quickly, sliding backward to reset. Tom Su and Heng watch in utter shock. They cannot believe this blonde guy is matching a monstrous delivery man blow for blow. Seonhee cannot look away. From the fight, both of them are operating on a legendary level of skill. Liang admits his opponent only landed that hit because he caught him off guard. He makes it very clear that he is not a fool who falls for the same trick twice. The delivery guy analyzes him closely. His overwhelming strength feels strangely familiar. He recognizes the blonde man's distinct movements and even his tone of voice. Irritated, Liang snaps back, telling him to stop acting like they are old friends. He brings up rumors that his rival quit the delivery game long ago. Ruined his reputation forever. He warns him never to pretend they share a bond. But the delivery guy ignores him, bringing up their dark shared history. He views them both as stray dogs born to sweep up trash, never allowed to rise. Smiling coldly, he asks if Lee Sang enjoys pretending to be a normal human. Dropping that real name heavily, silence instantly fills the entire room. Seonhee quietly mutters his real name, trying to piece it together. Liang feels exposed and humiliated, having his secret past dragged into the light. He owns his roots, but he will never let anyone look down on him. He snaps that they are nothing alike, warning him to drop the superior attitude. Just because he happens to know his old name, the courier just sighs. He raises his hand, mocking him by pointing an imaginary gun at his head. But he drops his hand, deciding this little skirmish is over for today. He figures continuing this fight is a total waste of valuable time. As the guy calmly turns to leave, an angry Liang barks after him. Asking why he remains so obsessed, he notes the boss seems ready to handle things. Xianhe silently watches him walk away, her mind racing with these new revelations. Liang questions this move, comparing it to leaving a cat with fish. The mysterious delivery rider pauses for a brief moment, replying that there is no rush. He is confident that as long as he keeps doing his delivery routes, their paths will cross again. Liang silently watches his rival walk away. Into the thick smoke and crumbled walls, Xianhe slowly approaches from behind. Whispering his name, her face turns icy cold, demanding to know the truth. Everything that just happened, she warns him that if he refuses to explain himself. Now their working relationship is completely over, Liang looks at Xianhe with absolute contempt, telling her that his only wish is for her to fire him. Meanwhile, deep inside the Union territory, a terrified salaryman drops to his knees, begging for mercy and claiming he is just a low-level manager who knows absolutely nothing of importance. Courier clad in a green riding suit stands right over him. He is supposed to execute the man, but he stands there frozen like an old computer. Before he can act, another courier arrives, a stunning girl in a bright yellow riding suit and a cat-eared helmet, looking instantly annoyed. She calls him Number 2, complaining that he always leaves the dirty work to her. This cat-eared beauty is basically carrying this entire operation, and she is tired of being his moral cleanup crew. She demands he execute the employee himself because that is the only way he will ever understand why he remains Number 2 instead of Number 1. She even reminds him that becoming Number 1 was supposed to be for his family's sake, yet even after hearing all that, he quietly leads the worker away, hoping to let him escape. The cat helmet girl catches up to them almost instantly and completely loses her temper. She calls him an idiot, telling him that letting the man escape does not make him righteous since the worker is going to die anyway. The only difference is that Number 2 refuses to stain his hands, leaving someone else to do the dirty work. She delivers a brutal slash, spraying blood across the ground. Now both of them stand over a fresh pool of blood. A strange masked figure with sharp teeth asks if Number 2 refused to kill again, and the girl casually confirms his hesitation. Later, Number 2 walks away alone while an observer notes that he keeps trying to act like a normal human. Because of this, the Union officially labels him as defective. The story then cuts back to Li Zhang, who bluntly tells Xianhe that if she has so many problems with him, she should just fire him. Xianhe is caught completely off guard, quietly blaming herself for having the foolish audacity to try and tame this wild dog. Liang warns her that she has no idea how dangerous her pursuers really are. He urges her to take her money, flee the country, and ask her prosecutor Opa for help, forget about his father's unfinished business, and simply live a normal life because that is probably what his father would have wanted. He adds that she clearly did not dig deep enough into his past if she thinks he would just walk away. The conversation quickly turns hostile when Xianhe brings up the family that died because of him, pointing out that he is still living comfortably while they are gone. Liang instantly grabs her by the collar after hearing those words. She warns him to calm down before he gets himself killed. He refuses to back down, making it clear that he is the one deciding whether this job continues or ends. He admits he still needs money to buy a house, but he is not desperate enough to face more trouble if assassins as dangerous as that courier from earlier keep coming after him. Xianhe honestly admits she cannot guarantee his survival, then asks if this is really all he is capable of after hiring him for exactly this kind of situation. After thinking, Sun quietly answers that those who deserve to live should. But Wang quickly cuts in, telling them to stop their little lovers' quarrel, especially since both of them are 1 second away from strangling each other. She reveals that Hongyi is actually the person currently closest to Junyan. She orders them to head there instead. Suddenly, Chiang Wul crashes the party. Chiang Wu leaps into the conflict and attacks Huang, leaving her bleeding on the ground. Yet she insists she is fine, calling it all just a simple misunderstanding. Xioni grabs Xiang Bong by the collar. He immediately begs Chang Wu to save him. He warns her that Xianhe is dangerous, but Xianhe tells Xian to let go. She suggests they settle this with words first. Sadly, peace does not last. Their talk is cut short when Chang Wu reveals that both Liang and Xianhe are now officially marked as elimination targets, even while bleeding. Huang desperately tries to stop them. Once things finally quiet down, we shift our focus back to Sang and Xianhe. Sang quietly admits he crossed the line with his harsh words earlier. Xianhe accepts the apology, but she is not letting him off that easily. She was completely honest with him from the start, while Sang keeps hiding his past from her, drawing a clear line between them. She tells him that if he wants to walk away, he should do it properly, and cancels the delivery contract. Now we head over to Soikong Snackba, where a well-dressed man is eating some skewers. Hung sits right next to him. He makes her bite from his own skewer, pointing out that the old woman running the food stall is mute and illiterate. No witnesses can ever speak up. He insults her cooking, calling it garbage, but admits that is actually a good thing. It keeps people away. Suddenly, the playful mood completely vanishes. He drops the smiles and accuses Honi of masterminding the recent attacks. He is certain she is too weak to pull this off alone, meaning some powerful player is backing her. He warns that she is invading his territory. On his turf, anyone crossing the line ends up dead. Honi calmly takes the warning and leaves without a word. But the second she is outside, she starts cursing the old bastard. We flash back 6 years to an election victory party. During the event, the same man totally ignores Honi, choosing to summon the woman standing beside her. After learning her name is Chang Wu, he showers her with all his attention. Hangi is forced to stand there all night, watching them fawn over each other. That deep humiliation burned for years. After getting cast aside so brutally, she decided to trigger a power struggle. Back today, Hangi meets her manager, Hingui, who instantly offers to assassinate anyone who upset her. She snaps that she is no longer just some Guang demanding to be treated like Her Majesty the Queen. She reveals that her ambition goes way beyond Saiyan Changdong. She wants total control over the entire nation, claiming the president himself will soon visit to officially recognize her new status. Next, she brings up Liang and Sanhai, calling them pesky intruders who are making a mess of her district. Even the elite Gizeng under her rule have failed to stop them. She orders Hasengai to eliminate both of them personally. This cheap villain instantly accepted the task without hesitation. Meanwhile, Ju quickly tracked down Xianhe. Deeply worried about her overall safety, Ju immediately checked to see if she was hurt, even awkwardly complimenting how she looked in her handbag, but he quickly noticed something was eating away at her and asked about Liang. Xianhe quietly admitted she fired him. Ju was not surprised at all, since he never trusted Sang anyway. But Xianhe calmly pointed out they had always managed on their own. When Ju asked what their next move was, she said they were heading directly to Hungai's room, but on the way, they ran into Chang Wal and her companion. At first, both sides prepared to fight because Chang Wal revealed they had strict orders from the madam to eliminate Xianhe and Ju. Command. Now let us look at the Red Heart Hotel, where security was thrown into absolute chaos upon learning that intruders had breached the building. Every guard on duty was summoned, and all routes to the top floor were instantly locked down. Meanwhile, once both groups finally took a moment to clear the air, they realized they had been chasing the same target all along. Just like that, they went from enemies to allies, riding the elevator together. They agreed to cooperate until reaching the top floor, before going their separate ways. Along the ride, Qingview reluctantly admitted this mess reminded her of a certain annoying guy. Meanwhile, Jiu complained that Leon only quit to go deliver chickens somewhere else. Scene shifts to Lang riding his delivery bike through the night. He crossed paths with Sanny's sports car, and things instantly escalated into a high-speed chase. It only ended when Sang forced the sports car into a crash, sending it flipping violently across the road. Despite the wreckage, Hai Sang Guy calmly stepped out of the wreck without a single scratch, commenting he would have to write off the entire vehicle as a loss. Sizing up Sang, he wondered if the young courier was loaded with cash. Sang admitted he was newly fired and completely broke. Hearing this, Hai Sang Guy let out a Disappointed sigh, but Sang just laughed, promising to cover the guy's medical bills. Before the real fight began, we cut back to Lang walking away, looking shaken and questioning his own crazy life choices. He blamed himself for letting his temper flare instead of staying patient. He regretted confronting Seonhee head-on, wondering if he should have simply lowered his head and endured everything instead of fighting back. Even though he had grown much stronger, he still hated the thought of bowing down and begging like a dog just to survive. Right then, a new order popped up from delivery. Heaven, for a second, he wondered if this was Seonhee trying to make peace with him. After firing him, in truth, she just needed a reliable courier she already knew and trusted to pull off the next mission. To her, this was another business transaction. She rehired him, making it clear there was no sentiment involved. While checking the details, Seonhee noticed something strange. The priority request was accepted incredibly fast, and the actual objective was totally different. Instead of chasing down the main target directly, the first on the agenda is clearing out the thugs inside the student council room. Seonhee explains that she has finally pieced everything together. A new delivery order has also been targeted at the first-class leader, Gaizan, which completely convinces her that someone already anticipates their every move and constantly sabotages their plans. Instead of always showing up too late, she decides they must strike first from now on. For the time being, Seon will have to operate entirely alone. Sang is deeply bothered by that decision, because he feels that even after Seonhee showed her true, vulnerable side, she still treats him like absolute garbage. She even slashes his delivery pay, rewrites their contract, and warns him never to pull a stunt like that. Again, Sang's next delivery job leads him straight to Ha-sung, whom he instantly recognizes as Hungai's kept man and personal manager. This snob is busy fixing his messy hair, insisting that looks are a key part of the gig. He boasts constantly about the massive amounts of money he rakes in monthly by escorting elite clients, entertaining VIPs, and managing schedules. He genuinely believes that high-class individuals like himself keep society afloat, claiming his career has way more value than anything a simple writer could ever manage. Sneering at Sang, he writes off delivery work as brainless labor, questioning if it even counts as a profession. Sang refuses to back down, proudly reminding him that he is elite at what he does and pulls in solid money. Ha-sung laughs, flashing a fat stack of cash mid-insult, mocking how a lowly courier would need years to save up that kind of money. He even promises double if Sang reveals Seonhee's location. Observing this, Sang notes that Seonhee has completely ruined his perspective on money, jokingly offering to talk if the payoff were multiplied 100 times. Ha-sung concludes that the courier is completely brainless, and their tense standoff instantly explodes into a fight. This cheap antagonist constantly taunts Sang mid-battle, mocking that he expected far more from someone allied with the Flower faction, insisting there is no way he could lose to a guy carrying a delivery bag. The clash gets brutal, but Sang slowly gains the upper hand. He throws Ha-sung's insults right back, calling him pathetic, and utterly crushes him with raw power. After knocking him silly, Sang even pauses to snap some photo evidence of his beaten face. Ha-sung refuses to accept defeat, swearing that from this moment on, he will show Sang the absolute power of endless cash. Meanwhile, our focus shifts back to Seonhee's squad. Seonhee, Jiu Changwal, and their companion press forward together through a quiet hallway littered with knocked-out guards, heading straight toward Hong's private office. Upon arrival, Hong is nowhere to be found. Seonhee recalls that Hong was hosting an influential guest today, wondering if she has simply not returned. While inspecting the workspace, they spot a mysterious pill bottle sitting on a table. Nobody recognizes the brand. They study the container closely, trying to determine if it contains standard medicine or something far more dangerous. Suddenly, the entire atmosphere grows freezing cold. A voice quietly repeats a phrase. Your delivery has arrived. The words echo endlessly until the calm tone warps into a blood-curdling shriek as an orange-suited rider is finally revealed. He stands inside the room, calmly holding out a delivery bag while nearby. He starts choking, gasping for air, while Chang's companion screams in panic. Horrified by the delivery, peering inside the package, they freeze at the sight. It is Gon's pale head, blood dripping from her mouth. Hongyi has been eliminated, murdered, and dropped right back in her room as a chilling warning. Meanwhile, the brutal clash between Liang and Hyo Sanungi rages on. he finally reveals the secret behind his sudden surge in power. He holds a pill worth tens of millions of won, and once swallowed, the drug unleashes his hidden physical potential to the absolute limit. Soon, he completely overpowers Lee Sang as if he installed an RTX 5090 in his body, but the shameless jerk actually calls it natural talent. He pins our boy down, ready to crush him, but Ling stays totally calm, asking if the drug upgraded his joints too. He suddenly twists Sai's arm, snapping it and leaving him screaming. In pure agony, Lian calmly points out those expensive pills only made his muscles look bigger, telling him he could have saved a fortune by just hitting the gym. This absolutely enrages Sanai, who decides one pill clearly is not enough. He downs an entire box, admitting he has never taken more than one at once before. The drugs immediately flood his system with violent, overwhelming power, making him scream, but this garbage energy does absolutely nothing. He instantly gets folded by our boy, who stands over the unconscious Sanger. Seeing this, Ling warns him not to die, as that would make it look like he actually murdered him. He then calls an ambulance to pick up the guy and takes a photo of Sanger for his delivery app. The system approves the target, marking the delivery as complete. He then goes to check on the elderly deliverman, wondering if his severed hand was successfully sewn back on. Meanwhile, Xianhe and Chang Wul are still in disbelief, unable to accept that Hong Kai was actually murdered. This means the person targeting the heads of the elite Gizung class is someone else entirely, not who she originally suspected. Xianhe questions why Cheng Wul was so sure that Hong Kai was behind it, but she reveals she never actually knew for certain. She then explains the events that started everything 2 years ago, when a massive war broke out among the Jizings over Saiyan Jinkeo, the leading presidential candidate at the time, who was also Xiang Hai's father. Getting chosen by a man with that level of power was a rare chance, because it could eventually lead a Jiseng straight to the rank of queen. Hong became obsessed with that crown and desperately wanted it, but Xiang Cho ultimately chose Bakyang and Xianhe instead. Hong simply could not accept losing, and her deep hatred for those two women grew. She responded by building her own influence, sparking chaos among the Gizengs and gathering wealth through every dirty deal she could get her hands on. When news broke that Xiang Cheryl had died, Hong made her moves, showing how far she was truly willing to go. Word was that Beiyang stayed behind and fought Hong to the bitter end, only to be crushed and erased from the picture. She suspects Hong A is behind this because the vacant queen position is still up for grabs. She wants that throne with no rivals left standing. But Hong's tragic death proves that the old theory simply doesn't hold up anymore. Hearing this, Xianhe asks about her father, unable to believe he was involved. How could he associate with someone like her? Chummel explains the harsh reality. The world is far dirtier than Xianhe thinks, and the country's elite know it. They have tolerated this dark entertainment for years, and her father was involved. Still, she remembers her father as a deeply honorable and decent man. He never treated the Gizang like servants, but always as equals instead. She reveals that it is the exact drug Saiyan Joel tried to block. He had personally approached the Minister of Health to stop it. He pushed hard to block the drug. Hearing this, Xianhe connects the dots. She suspects this drug led to her father's murder and wants justice. She is determined to find his killer, wondering if they struck again. Could that same monster have killed Hong A too? She needs answers. Instead of investigating from the outside, she decides to get an inside connection. She asks Shenhua for help. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a busy hospital. The staff are completely stunned by a surgeon who finished 10 surgeries today. They treat this massive feat like a legend come to life. But the surgeon could not care less, telling her staff to finish. She orders them to handle the recovery while she takes off early. Taking the afternoon off, she walks down the hallway until she is finally alone. She pulls off her mask, complaining about the boring hospital work. Still, she is glad she can finally focus on what she truly enjoys. Her name is Dr. Li, and she moonlights as a professional torture contractor. That is definitely a career combination you will never find on LinkedIn. Entering a hidden room, she finds a shirtless man bound in tight restraints. The man, Bei Min-jun, desperately begs her to just kill him. He wants his misery to end, but Li finds the idea highly amusing. He is far too valuable to die so quickly. Smiling, she grabs a scalpel. She prepares for another brutal session, casually wondering how to hurt him. Meanwhile, Sana arrives, stepping out right in front of the university hospital. Jui walks beside her toward the entrance, confirming they have arrived. This is the hospital Ling mentioned, and Sana finds it almost funny. It looks so normal despite all the chaos. She pings Ling her location. She tells him to come over, but he replies he is already on his way. He needs to get patched up at the exact same medical center. That is where he sent Byun and the courier, plus the bully is still there. He warns Sana to keep her cool and ignore everyone, no matter what. Meanwhile, Jui believes this mess is the perfect excuse to cut ties. It would have been a smart move. Still, he wonders about her secrets. Why did Sana feel the need to keep him completely in the dark? She apologizes, explaining she never wanted to lie, but she was terrified. She dreaded a leak and had no idea who the traitor in their midst was. That is why she kept secrets. Ju nods, wondering who the real snake is. Could the traitor be standing right next to them? He warns her to focus. He tells her not to lose control, knowing how deeply she loathes him. Then the receptionist asks why they've arrived, and let's watch as Sana starts to explain. That they're visiting an acquaintance, but before she can even finish her sentence, the nurse offers to guide them directly to the doctor, leading them away. Jai quickly senses something is wrong when they step into an elevator and descend into a hidden underground level, making it clear this is definitely no ordinary hospital. Down there, Lee Sang is already waiting for them. She's highly amused that they trusted Lee Sang enough to follow him all the way down here, instantly calling him a liar. Lee and Lee Sang have been business partners for years. He delivers targets to her clinic so she can torture them and extract whatever information they've got, according to her. These targets are nothing but trash. Our guy calls this total nonsense and points out he has investigated Lee Sang enough to know he'd never hide something so ridiculous. Ling laughs at his naivety and explains that she doesn't care about their industry's unwritten rules. If someone pays her properly, she gladly accepts, and working on Ling himself would be much more entertaining than dealing with ordinary civilians because torture gets her information straight from the source. She even offers to dig into Ling's secrets or let them confirm everything with him directly. Right then, Ling arrives and immediately reminds everyone he specifically told them not to get involved. He wonders why Jai took Lee so seriously, though she quickly brushes it off. Ling then explains that Ling is weird but not completely evil since she's actually the doctor who patches him up whenever he gets hurt on delivery jobs. Lei jokingly offers to torture him once for old time's sake, but Lee Sang immediately refuses and tells everyone to follow him because there is something important he must show them. They move further inside and find the old delivery guy and Jing Min partying together in hospital beds. Jing teases Lee Sang for bringing his girlfriend, acting like he's showing off his love life to annoy everyone. The school bully from earlier is also sitting tied up and bandaged, quietly begging to be allowed to go home. Jing tells him to relax, since fighting is banned inside the hospital because of their industry rules, but Sana is still worried about leaving someone like him running free, but he makes it clear that he has no interest in her, only wanting another chance to fight Ling. Now let's follow Ling even deeper inside, where they discover San hooked up to a strange containment device. He is struggling and groaning as Ling recognizes exactly what is being used on him. It's the exact same drug the Union forced delivery riders to take. Seeing it again clearly bothers Ling because he thought that chapter of his past was long gone, but the drug is still circulating. Sana immediately connects it to Ling's ridiculous strength during their earlier fight, realizing that this drug explains how he became so strong, but our guy shrugs off the comparison and jokes that he is completely natural and would still be the strongest without using some garbage drug. He admits he never wanted to dig up his dark past, but as we're about to see, this contract changes everything. Working together again means he finally has to explain everything about his past. Now the scene shifts to Gyobang, where Chong Wu arrives searching for the madam. She needs to find some old documents and wants to locate specific records. These records contain names of high-ranking officials they previously served back in Dong, and she asks if those files are still kept there. The madam ignores the question, looking around the household instead. She comments on how badly everything has fallen apart while she was busy dealing with outside matters. The women have become so undisciplined that the entire household feels like it is completely collapsing. She explains that the pillars of any home grow unstable when a so-called husband fails to do his duty. But suddenly Chang-woo hears Sobong screaming her name, begging for help. She turns around and freezes. Sobong stands nearby, several knives buried deep in her chest, desperately calling out to Chang-woo. The madam then steps forward, wearing a striking red outfit and holding a weapon. She calmly surveys the chaos around her, telling Chu that the only way to fix this mess is to clean it up completely. Ling explains that the Federation operates in a world where almost anything can be ordered with a single tap. These requests are not limited to standard deliveries. People can order murders, assaults, kidnappings, and revenge, or other illegal contracts just as easily. Some clients abuse this extreme convenience, and a secret group eventually forms around these dangerous requests. Its official name is the General Federation of Delivery Professionals, but its members simply call it the Syndicate. The group uses a letter D emblem and cares only about making as much money as possible. Every member is highly skilled at pulling off dangerous jobs, but the 5 best delivery drivers stand far above the rest. They are ranked according to their performance, with their exact positions represented by medals. Sai tries to understand what that ranking actually means, and Ling quickly explains that being number 2 simply means he ranks second. If a real fight ever breaks out, he can easily kick the butts of the syndicate members all by himself. He then explains that the syndicate once paid him so much that he could have bought an apartment near Han River entirely with cash, but the troubles started when they began assigning him increasingly terrible jobs. That is why he decided he had enough and walked away. Leaving the syndicate was tough because he had to give up everything he had earned while working for them. He has already cut ties with the organization and considers his time there nothing more than a past part-time job. From his past, Xianhaya still finds the entire thing disturbing because simply working for an organization like that raises serious questions. Sang admits that a normal person probably would not have gone anywhere near such a place. But our guy would do anything for cash. Saya asks if he is completely sure that he has no connection to the syndicate anymore, and Sang admits that they still cross paths from time to time. Sang remembers the last time came after him, explaining that the men grew arrogant, so he simply beat the daylights out of them and sent them packing. Sinhai remains surprisingly calm about the threat. She sees no reason to panic because, in her mind, there is nothing the syndicate can actually do to stop them. Sometime later, Siana calls Sang a lunatic, but she quietly admits those 2 agonizing years of decision-making finally paid off. Sang is genuinely thrilled that she decided to place another order with him, instantly asking if this means their current contract is officially being renewed. Siana quickly shuts him down, making it crystal clear that the agreement is not getting renewed just yet. A major problem still stands because someone has been tracking their every move, and they need to find out who is behind it. She rejects any new jobs, making Sang instantly defensive. He swears the tracker has absolutely nothing to do with him, but Sanga reminds him that he originally complained the job had become far too dangerous and wanted to quit. Suddenly, Lee steps closer to Sang, spotting a hidden tracking device stuck to the back of his neck. She rips it off, explaining she initially assumed he had left it there on purpose, but after hearing this conversation, she realizes the poor guy genuinely had no clue it was there. At that moment, Jing casually admits he was the one who planted the bug in the first place. Mangang immediately retaliates, landing a heavy punch to his stomach, though Jing tells Sang not to worry, since it was just business. Meanwhile, Assemblyman Jai Wong-Su stares at his phone, a smug grin forming. He sees Sang has finally found the device and quietly admits that tagging him was one of the very few things he actually pulled off right. Now that slight edge is gone. Nearby, a bloodied man named Yang Gang crawls across the floor, desperately begging Jai Wong-Su to spare his life. The assemblyman calmly notes he never promised mercy, leaving Yang Gang struggling to understand how he can possibly make it out alive. That is when a bizarre condition is set. If Yang Gang wants to survive, he must defeat him. He tells him to grab any broken blade or scrap metal nearby and use any dirty trick to fight back. Jianggu grows strangely excited, explaining that the victorious deserve to rule, while the weak have no place here. In his twisted philosophy, only those strong enough to survive on their own power deserve to stay. He genuinely believes a nation built on this savage Darwinism would rise to become the strongest power in the entire world. To sweeten the deal, he offers Yang Gang a massive incentive to fight. Victory means he keeps his life and inherits everything Jianggu owns. But despite this incredible offer, the broken man remains absolutely terrified. Whimpering for mercy, Yao Weng-su answers with a vicious, heavy blow, openly wondering if the man's son can put up a better fight. Since the father cannot even throw a punch, another strike pushes him past his breaking point. With a roar, Yang Gang snaps and charges. Yao Weng-su laughs with pure delight, thrilled his opponent is fighting back at long last. He should have done this from the start. Later, he steps inside an elevator, stretching casually while taking in the beautiful weather outside. Feeling incredibly cheerful, he calls his wife, suggesting they take a scenic stroll together. Instead, she snaps, furiously cursing him for making her abandon her own work just to clean up his mess. She mockingly scoffs at his walk invitation and reveals a dangerous Gizang was actively plotting against their entire family. She berates him for wasting time picking fights and playing with Gizangs. Another household completely falls apart. Hearing this, her husband casually explains that trouble can happen when a husband is away handling business, and reminds her of his warning not to cross the line while dismissively brushing off the other woman's plans as nothing serious. Then he calmly asks if she also knew Chang Wol was planning to betray them. Hong is absolutely furious when she hears this accusation. She reveals that Shan Wol was trying to join forces with the very woman they are trying to eliminate. That target is currently with Jenger's daughter Seon Ha and has an ally on the other side. Seon Ha sits with Lee, asking if she can truly force someone to reveal the truth. Seon Ha wants to hear the truth directly from her father's killer. Lee seems highly amused by this request, explaining that she does not want money as payment. She prefers stories instead. She considers herself an expert at reading people and can spot lies by studying their expressions, breathing, and even the movement of their pupils. For her, separating truth from lies is easy. Siona can lie if she wants, but if Levi catches her playing tricks, she will lose whatever she is hoping to get from her. Siona ponders this for a while before laughing at how ridiculous this entire situation has become. She then asks Lei to bring her one specific person. Lee immediately agrees, excited to get started. Sanka then confronts Sang, reminding him they promised not to hide things from each other, clearly believing he is still keeping something important about his past from her. Sang calmly points out that she never actually asked him about it. His promise was to tell the truth whenever she asked, not to explain his entire life story without being questioned. Even so, he agrees to tell her what she wants. The crucial weakness he offers Lee is the identity of the delivery driver who appeared at Si-hun's house 2 years ago. On the night her father was killed, he hands over an evidence bag from the prosecution service containing a small pink pill connected to that driver. Sang does not want to discuss it any further. Sihona offers to trade one of her own weaknesses in return, but Sang refuses. As far as he is concerned, they are strictly business partners, and that is how their relationship will remain. Sang then continues walking with the evidence bag, explaining that they finally have a real clue connected to that delivery driver from 2 years ago. The lead could lead them straight to the mastermind behind everything, although Sang is still uneasy about where it might lead. Yui Wu asks Kano what she plans to do now that they have a lead. Kano has already made up her mind. They are heading straight to the company that manufactured the drug. Yui immediately protests because breaking into a place like Si Changdong and going after an actual corporation are two completely different things. A legitimate company has lawyers, legal protection, employees, and the authorities on its side. After everything that happened before, Sean could not simply cause another scene and expect to walk away without consequences. Seek calmly explains that she has no intention of causing trouble. Instead, she plans to get inside legally by applying for a job. Their target is Octalo, pharmaceutical firm currently hiring for positions in research and development, regulatory affairs, production, sales, and marketing. And Sona shows the job opening to the group, making it clear that Octalo is their next destination. Their investigation is about to shift from the criminal underworld into a totally legitimate business. The Recruitment process begins at Octalo, where anxious applicants in suits wait. Nervously for their interviews, Sedan is among them, reminding Sang that if he memorized everything she handed over, he can handle any question thrown his way. But instead of listening, he admits he never read the study material. Because it was too long, luckily our clever guy prepared his own answers, confidently claiming his method worked great during his syndicate interview. Sanha walks him to the room, telling him twice not to worry, remaining completely unbothered. He enters confidently and gives her a thumbs up, but things fall apart almost instantly. He answers every question by saying he does not know, until the interviewers lose patience and accuse him of mocking the process. Soon, Sang's interview seems just as hopeless as it gets. When the interviewer asks about his greatest strength, Sang delivers a deadpan response, claiming he is incredibly good at fighting and can crush anyone, regardless of who they are. Immediately, something is hurled directly at his head. Later, Siona meets him outside and assumes he failed. She admits she never expected a guy like him to survive a corporate interview, getting ready to activate their backup plan. But Sang calmly notes that he never actually told her that he failed. The truth comes to light when an older executive calls Sang from an office doorway. The old man asks about Sang's claim of beating anyone and challenges him to prove it. Sang warns that a fight will only get him hurt, but the executive lunges anyway, swinging his cane. Sang easily avoids blows as the senior continues testing his reflexes. The old man throws objects at his head and mocks him for not bothering to dodge, pointing out that none of these attacks were actually dangerous. Sang quickly realizes that the man is testing him on purpose. Suddenly, the old executive shifts his tactics and begins targeting Sang's vital points with genuine killing intent. Fuang finally takes the fight seriously when the old man's strike aims straight for his chest. Sang twists in midair and barely dodges. He counters instantly with a left hook, sending the old man to the floor. Despite holding the upper hand, Sang halts instead of finishing him. The elder asks why he held back, warning that such hesitation will get him killed in a real battle. Sang simply replies that this is not a war zone, meaning there is no reason for bloodshed. The executive calls him a fool but is visibly pleased with the response. He stands back up, telling Sang to show up for work tomorrow, then walks off with his cane. Sang stands alone in the corridor, slowly realizing that somehow his disastrous interview actually ended with him getting hired.